Tonight we have Hal Ottaway. Hal is the grand poobah of postcard collecting and in Wichita, and we're lucky to have him. He's going to talk about his collection of postcards from a small chain of restaurants. Hal, take it away.
Okay, thank you. It's really good to be here. I think back just several months or years ago now, but because of COVID, all of this happened. All of our Zoom meetings that we have with Western New York and Capital Beltway and San Jose Postcard Club, it's really, and a couple of times from Texas as well. But it's been fun, and you get to know more people, and you match them up with names and faces, and it's really expanded my scope of collecting and thinking about other things, and just the interaction with people. Well, anyway, thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about my collection of McDonald's advertising postcards. I won't go into great detail about, how many stands they have now and all of that. We'll be looking at products, we'll be looking at architecture, we'll be looking at a little bit of history and how all this came about. And our first McDonald's restaurant in the state of Kansas happened to be right here in Wichita, and it was just about a half mile from where I lived in Wichita. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as far as prices and so forth, and so in a little bit. Last month, Mark Jones from Illinois gave a real good program here on selling postcards, and we were talking, and when Michael introduced me and said that I'd be the speaker this month on McDonald postcards, he popped up and said, well, I did a show on McDonald's postcards. And so I watched it, and it was great and fun, interesting. You can go to his list of videos that he's made and see what he has to say. Michael's Jones' focus is really on selling, which is okay, selling and prices and what sells and what doesn't and what you can find. And so I'm a little more oriented to the collector aspect, and that's fine too. We have to have the two together to make it all click. But this is a card. Let's see. Look, there's a fool under the arches. Can you go in closer? Looky there. Okay. Looking at this postcard, it's an interesting, oh, and by the way, warning, this presentation may make you hungry. And would you like fries with that? You'll have to provide your own ketchup for dipping and eating, but we're happy to get along with all this. Okay, there we are without the fool under the arches. This is, what these are. They're advertising postcards that we're going to see, and they weren't made for collectors as such. And we know that because a lot of times these have a coupon on the back, or the whole postcard's a postcard coupon, and they're encouraging you. They've mailed it to you. They've mailed it to the surrounding community when they open a new store, say, and they want all of that group to come in and to patronize them and become regular diners. But a lot of times when they do that and they have a coupon on the back, you have to surrender that postcard. You can't keep it and eat it too, or eat their goodies that they give you. But and otherwise, you may go home with a bag of fries or a hamburger or something. But then they have your postcard, and they have your name, and they have your address, and they know they can do another mailing for something else in the future, or, just put them in a box. So as far as I know, no collector has ever found a big box of used, retrieved McDonald's postcards. Or if someone floods the market someday, we might to be able to nail them down and see where was that town and state that these came from. This is one of my favorites. It's an early one, and we know that because of the architecture. We have the golden arches on the stand itself, and you see how people walk up to the stand. You don't go inside. You don't open a door. You're still on the outside. You don't have air conditioning. But all of this, that was the way it was in the 1960s when they opened here in Wichita. Over here on the left, you see this, probably a Coke, or it could be a shake, but you see McDonald's Speedy, Speedy. And that was the big focus when they first opened and first started, was getting that meal out to you quickly. You would walk out, you would order, and very quickly, within seconds, or at least less than a minute, I think, you would have had your drink and you would have had your hamburger and French fries, if that's what you ordered, in a sack, and you would be going back to your car. That was a big, enormous deal. We take it for granted today, like we do a lot of things, but that was one of the little tricks that, or not tricks, but kinks that they did, and it's what made them different from a lot of other hamburger stands or hot dog places and so forth. So anything with Speedy, we know that that's kind of early, probably in the 60s. I don't know exactly when Ronald came along. You can Google and look him up and see when they started. I should have probably done that, but Speedy is what we look for, and kind of a dry looking hamburger in a way, but that's the way it is. This has a little grubbiness to it. The lower left, it looks like probably picked up off the street or something, perhaps, but I still like it. And I always try to upgrade like everyone else does, but so far this is the only one of this particular one that I found. I think that Mark Jones would approve of this. I think he would like to have one of these to sell. Now, McDonald's is like any other big organization. They will plug in with an advertising agency who will have their own designers, their own creators, and they'll work up, a group of postcards or a French fry bag or cups or whatever. And if their contract is not renewed, then some other designer that's how we get these differences, which you can see in this card. It's totally different than any of the others we're going to see tonight. I guess this designer didn't last too long. I wonder if there are others. Is this the only postcard that this company did? But you can see the McDonald's, their golden arches over here to the left or behind the lady on the kind of the outside of the car. A real nose in the air look at people that their clientele, don't you know? And so it's fun to see, and we know that it's a pretty early card. It doesn't have Speedy on it. They've already lost him, and so it's probably, that's telling us that it's between Speedy and between Ronald. It was this. Here's the stand that I remember in Wichita. This is exactly what ours looked like, the stand wise, and I've already kind of mentioned it. Inside, it was employees working, doing things, frying French fries, scooping them up, flipping the hamburgers. So to get that speed, to get that delivery out the window and get another customer waited on quickly. Look for the golden arches. And so you would have seen that as you drove down the street, like you used to see Oh, like the big bucket of chicken at Kentucky Fried Chicken. They had those for a while. A lot of city ordinances and so forth kind of frowned on that, like I suppose some of them did about the Golden Arches. But I can remember, and I'm sure you've seen them too, on a highway, you see the big tall signs in the distance. You knew that was a place you could get something to eat. You knew what it was going to taste like. You knew probably about what it was going to cost. And I always tell people today, maybe more so than back then, what we're looking at here, they were known for clean restrooms. And if you were traveling with kids or even one kid, we all need and appreciate and enjoy a clean restroom. Here we go with kind of a real photograph. It's not a black and white real photo like we have, but it's early. We can tell with the 15-cent price tag, Speedy up there under the arches. And they say that they have over 100 million have been sold. We can't, or I haven't been able to find a group of things like we could say 25 million or 20, working up. I haven't found that kind of that many different cards with the numbers that have been sold, but it's something they did for a while, like everything, and then they made some changes. But you can see that there appears to be even lighting on the Golden Arches, so they would have shown up and in the nighttime. And this is kind of different, a little area out front, it looks like, with the umbrella, so people could sit there and eat instead of taking it back to their car or on home. So it's a little bit transition time frame for this card too. Here we are, Speedy again, 15 cents, and the people are kind of in silhouette. It's kind of a standard card that lasted for several years, probably through in the late 60s and early 70s. The drive-in with the arches. This, you just can't believe it. But this shows the menu that they had, and there's several things besides the prices. Just look at it. A very simple menu, sparse as far as number of items. They had hamburgers, cheeseburgers, triple thick shakes. Try to say that fast. It's a tongue twister. They're golden French fries, and then 5 different drinks. And all of those drinks were a dime. The shakes were 20 cents, the cheeseburger 19 cents, and the hamburger 15 cents for those first years. And I tell the story, but it's true. When I was in the University of Wichita, before it came into the state system and became Wichita State University, I ate at many, if not most, of my weekday lunches at McDonald's that, like I said, was kind of close to where we live. So I'd wheel in there before I went home. But I would eat for 26 cents. I had a hamburger, a dime Coke, and a penny for the governor. Those 3 things. So it's just the tastiest food in town at extra thrifty prices. And you just can't beat it. Just look at all that those drinks for a dime a cup. Today, there's like $2, and they act like that's a big deal. I can remember when they were $1. Here we go. They're no longer in silhouette. They're, in various periods of dress or, different kinds. No one's really in shorts too much. It looks like it might have been for Michigan or Northern California or something, but the Golden Arches, look for them. Here's the same thing with 3 different names of towns in Illinois. And so we know that probably this card was used as a mailer by a franchisee who had McDonald's restaurants in at least these 3 different towns in Illinois. So this kind of zeroes in on where they were and what was going on, and you could go back in local history and find out exactly when they opened and all of that. This is the Big Mac. And we're going to see several cards going through here. I can remember seeing this long, look like the big long word from Wales in England that they always talk about on the outside of a train depot. Well, here I can remember all of this as one long word. Of course, without the separations, it was hard to read, but 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. And doesn't that look delicious? And this we know that's probably in the 70s. And golly, that's 30, that's almost 50 years ago, indeed. But it looks tasty. There's special sauce and was it secret and blah, blah, blah. But that's those sesame seed buns were distinctive and different and, a big hit. And here we go back. You can see this one has, I always make fun of, not make fun, but mention this, America's Goodest, something my English teacher wouldn't have liked. But somebody came up, again, an ad agency and decided that was kind of clever. And you can see that this is kind of difficult to find a replacement. I have the upper left corner has a fat crease in it, but I'm proud to have it until I find a little bit better copy. Here is one for Season's Greetings. And on the back, they were offering a 3-course meal for 47 cents. A hamburger, golden French fries, and a creamy triple thick shake for 47 cents. It was their way to say Merry Christmas or Season's Greetings and stop by to get something, to eat or take home for dinner. We're not seeing Speedy. We're not seeing a Ronald. We're not seeing how many they've sold. It's just a Season's Greetings with this coupon on the reverse. But it's kind of fun, for Christmas time. When I was editor of the Wichita Postcard News for several years, I would look for things like that and then put that in the December issue. Kind of bizarre, and most people, I suppose, thought it was strange, but that's me. Here's a pretty early one. Mark Jones showed some of these in his video that he did, and we know that they're early because really the hamburger or the food doesn't look as appetizing and as wonderful as the photography shows it today in what you see on television or any place. This whole business of taking pictures of food, Rick Schaefer and I were talking about it beforehand. He was mentioning that they use spray and they use a mist and all of these things. By the time they get their picture, the thing is pretty well inedible. You didn't want to eat it. It has too much other stuff on it to make it shine or sheen, and the grease on the hamburger looking good instead of kind of soaked in there. Anyway, it's a fun kind of earlier card of the McDonald's. You can see that again, it's before they enclose them. Down in the lower right corner, you can see how the structure was, the architecture of the building. Here's the sister or the brother to that previous card showing the hamburger. This was the pedigree potatoes. The McDonald's potatoes are not ordinary, no siree, they're pedigree. Well, I guess, again, an ad agency kind of came up with that kicker, and maybe they didn't last very long too, because I don't remember much being said about pedigree potatoes. But, everyone has, if you're an ad agency, you have another way of saying something, and maybe it would stick, maybe it'd be great, and maybe it's forgotten and something else comes along next week. Here's a double hamburger that's getting to look a little greasier and more appetizing than some of those earlier ones that we saw at the beginning. But with that old pickle in there with ketchup and mustard, two pieces of hamburger meat. And here is the McDonald's first and French fries. Even got a blue ribbon for that, like they were at the county fair. But truly, this is a time that maybe I mentioned that McDonald's, the corporation, even founded a hamburger university outside of Chicago someplace. I read about it. There was a big Time magazine back in the 70s that talked a lot about McDonald's, and I probably have a copy someplace in my estate. But they were just mentioning in that article how the franchise people would come, the employees people would come, and their suppliers would also be a part of this university or learning experience for several weeks. You didn't just open a McDonald's if you had a fat checkbook and able to pay the fees and so forth. You had to learn. You had to find out about how things happen and what's required and so forth. You can take a potato when you run out of potatoes at a McDonald's. You don't go to the local grocery store and buy a bag or 2 or 3 bags. No, they come from special suppliers who make a special size potato. That means they pick it at the same time, and they come in bags and so forth, and they're cut a certain way. They're cut a certain length, and it's not happenstance. It's planned, and they cook them in the cooking oil and so forth a certain way for so many seconds, and then served them up with a sprinkling of salt on top. It's a big deal. And so that's first and French fries. They're no longer called or referred to as pedigrees fries. Oh my goodness. A cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. McDonald's is your kind of place. There we go. Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. And here we are, another ad agency that had this attractive lady, and we're going to see a good-looking guy in the next card. But I'm sure, or possibly, they did more than 2 cards. And so I'll be looking at Mark Jones's list sometimes to see if he has one that comes up with one that I can use, that can add to the collection. But here, this lady is just thrilled. She's just kind of the 50s or 60s mom. It's just exciting to see her looking. She's try this for size. Anyway, look for the golden arch and see this is the mate to it, the boy. Really, just looks like Leave It to Beaver for sure. Real good, and still only 15 cents. So we know it's from the 60s, probably. The drive-in with the arches. He's just delighted. And what a refreshing and uplifting ad campaign that was for sure with these. Here we go. Back with the All-American meal. They tried that for a while. And that's either a shake, I guess, or a Coke. I'm not sure. By the way, shakes were popular and always have been with McDonald's. And that goes back to Ray Kroc when he came to the first McDonald's that he saw, the brothers Dick and Mac McDonald. They had a restaurant called McDonald's in California. And he noticed what was happening, that they reordered on their shake machines, and Ray Kroc was selling a multi-shake machine. And so doing, I guess, at least 2 or maybe 3 at a time. and they would reorder. It's not like they were just happy with one. They would maybe wear them out or need another one. And so that Ray Kroc was sharp, and he got to, thinking and looking and noticing how they were serving a very limited menu, like we talked about earlier. But this business with shakes, I think that goes back to Ray Kroc's beginning, where he was a salesman for the multi-shake machines. This is a fish sandwich, fillet of fish. I'm sure many of you have had this with the tartar sauce. Somebody said the other day, and it's really good. And I agree. Doesn't have the sesame seed bun, but it looks good, and a big drawing card, especially in earlier days on Fridays, when the Catholic audience would need to refrain maybe from a hamburger, but fish fillet was just what they needed and enjoyed. Here we are with a new kind or a different kind of look to the McDonald business. You see, we don't see the golden arches hanging or being on top of the building or to the sides. They still show up on the sign that is out by the street usually, so you could see it at a distance as you're driving. If you're in a on a highway or just in a neighborhood, to see that McDonald's, you're close. But this is what the architects referred to as a mansard roof. And these businesses coming down, somebody suggested they look like big French fries. Well, maybe so. I'm not sure if they there was something part of the design that made them important, but it's how that architect or architectural firm designed this brick building. It was an enclosed one now, which means it would have been air conditioned. And this mansard roof, what it did, it hid all of the air conditioning units and so forth that were on top of the building. So when you looked at the building from the street, it looked, just crisp, and you didn't see all that air conditioning. But if you're a bird, or if you're flying over or landing or so forth, I've seen a picture the other day of maybe taken with a drone, where somebody was showing several compressors and units up there on the roof that you can't see from down here. But it's a handsome building. And later McDonald's had, in these enclosed places, they had the playland or their toy land, and these slides and little things you climb stairs, and it was made for kids and for birthday parties and all of that. I've never seen a McDonald's postcard that really featured that. So maybe that's still something that I can find someday. Here we are, a new McDonald's Big Mac. I'm not sure exactly the year this came out, but what makes this card special is a 3D card, or a lenticular. I love that word, and have even a category that I collect, all lenticular postcards, just because I think they're neat. But they have depth to the picture. And of course, the hamburger and the fries too, they look fresh and just like you'd love to bite into that. And I'll say this, not a slogan, but what goes into a McDonald's Big Mac. Again, it said 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. There you go. And a lenticular, little bit heavier paper, or almost cardstock, but it's a big favorite of mine. Here we are with the Big Mac on another kind of card. It really is a similar type font and similar way of my cheeseburger that we had before we got into cheeseburger. But this showing the Big Mac, and So get up and get away to McDonald's. Have a big break today. You deserve it. Here we have the Big Mac and what all goes into it. And I won't go through my line again for you, but you can see the ingredients right there to the left. On this card, it said on the back, it was from the Kansas City area, and it said, buy a Big Mac and get one free. No, I'm sorry. That story goes with another card. I think we're going to come up. Next card, please. Here we are with a quarter pounder, very similar to a Big Mac, but without all of the trimmings and maybe the height too. But certainly on a sesame seed bun, and look at all those seeds there. Grand opening for a McDonald's with the mansard roof. Now we'll see this same basic artwork with different text on the cards. Here it is, your invitation to join us at McDonald's, where your dollar gets a big break every day. This card shows your newly remodeled McDonald's. Come visit it, where your dollar gets a break every day. And here the earlier McDonald's store, but look at this. This is one of the few that shows the enclosure where you would, do your ordering. So you would go in this glass area, which gave you protection in the winter or bad storms or rain, if it ever rains. Doesn't rain too many times here in Wichita, but go in there and have protection from the elements, and would have been air conditioned too. But this is kind of one of those stepping stones. And I hadn't noticed that until just a while ago, of how this was another change. Then they went from that to this one with the mansard roof. Here's the one from my story. It said on the back of this, it says, buy a Big Mac and get one free with this postcard from the McDonald's in the Kansas City area. So you could have a date night at home with 2 Big Macs for sure. Dinner for 2. And here we are with, it's a different kind of sign on the street sign. It almost looks to me like a bag of French fries. And by then, but they say over 6 billion sold. That's a lot of zeros. That's a lot of hamburgers and meals and Big Macs and so forth, but enclosed. So you would go into air conditioning. You would have gone in probably through the air conditioning to restrooms in the back. This is the way many of them were several years ago. The mansard roof, you deserve. It's pretty standard. It has kind of the rounded corners. And this is a McFeast, a juiciest hamburger. And like Rick was pointing out, or maybe Michael too, the other night, this is on a Kaiser type roll where it's almost segmented and looks like, deviled eggs or something up there, but would have been a good meal and a McFeast. And I don't know quite how that would differ from a Big Mac, except that it doesn't have the 2 layers of meat maybe. But I don't hear about a McFeast anymore. Maybe that was something that they tried and then we lost it. It's kind of like the McRib. I can remember that. And I saw online today how they made that McRib slab of, it wasn't really ribs, it was all ground up and then formed into what it looked like a rib sandwich. But anyway, I've never seen a postcard for a McRib, but maybe again, Mark Jones will find one of those for me sometimes. Now here's a card. Somebody thinks it's sad. It was just the way it was. But this is a birthday card that my son, or our oldest boy, Luther, got on his 10th birthday. I can tell all that because of the address label on the other side. It shows his name and when his birthday was and when this was mailed. And It was for his 10th mail. Well, Luther didn't get to take that card in and get a hamburger. I probably bought him one instead, but Dad got this postcard for his collection. So it's a Wichita card, which makes it fun. It's not on a heavy paper stock or anything, but it's truly Wichita, and I'm proud to have it. And here's another kind of a birthday card where with the handwritten address, so they would have hired somebody to do all these. They would encourage people to fill out a card showing your birthday and when it was. And this is what they did with them. Here we certainly have Ronald McDonald. We can't tell exactly the year. This might be 1988. I'm not sure. That could be pretty close. We'd have to look up and see when postcards had a 14-cent rate. By the way, I think now postcards cost 48 cents to mail them. And with National Postcard Week coming up, we better be finding out exactly and get the right amount of stamps on each one of the National Postcard Week's cards that we'll be sending. But this shows Ronald and all of those Ronald McDonald hamburger characters in the back that, they made zillions of little toys and things to entice children to buy a Happy Meal, and there would be a prize inside or a toy, something fun. Here is the Funmobile, that Ronald McDonald Funmobile, and they said it was available for nonprofit events, parades, birthday parties, and so forth in the Greensboro and Charlotte, North Carolina area. I don't know if they had more than one of these or just the one, but apparently it was popular there for a while. And I'm glad somebody made it into a postcard. Now we come into some of the McDonald's restaurants that are in other countries, other parts of the world. And this one happens to be in Quebec, in Canada, and in French, front and back. And it's certainly showing looks like the Big Mac to me. 100% pure beef. This card was from Munich, Germany, made on a lighter paper, but wish it had been a little bit stiffer cardboard or printing board. But anyway, it's fun. And it's all in German, and that's neat too. They must have had kind of a pineapple sundae there that was popular, pineapple or orange or something, not sure. And here I slipped this one in with the foreign cards, but it is Oklahoma, and this is said to be the postcard that is the world's largest McDonald's, and I'll have to take their word for it. Of course, it might have been something else built since then, but then anyway, for a while, this was the world's largest McDonald's. It's over the Will Rogers Turnpike near Veneta, Oklahoma, on the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you could, go in here and park and probably take an elevator up or stairs, eat, look out over the highway, go on to the other side, bathrooms, all of that. And there you were in this giant McDonald's place in northeastern Oklahoma. This is from Singapore, a chicken McSpaghetti, kind of hard to say, but must have been popular there. And that's a nice card. Actually, several of these foreign cards I would acquire from rack card collectors. I was a rack card collector too, but they would show up occasionally, and people weren't just crazy about them. Rack cards wanted absolute, and they wanted the liquors, and they wanted to me, this was a great advertising card, and it's a McDonald's card. So I felt lucky to latch on to this one. This is another rack card. It's a folded one. but it's from Prague, Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic. And you can see here on the map, it's a bird's eye view. And there are 3 McDonald's in the lower right corner showing a map of how to reach them. And then you go over the bridge and there's a McDonald's near the other side of the bridge on the left. But a useful guide for a tourist and someplace that you could go to have lunch and know what it was going to taste like and know about how much it would cost and so forth. Not very many surprises there. This is what they're saying is the home of the most magnificent McDonald's. Well, that's great. This appears to be in Warren, Ohio. I've never been there, but it'd be fun to go there sometime and see this. It looks like it has almost 2 stories. I don't know if there are children's, a playground area inside there or what. I don't know, but it'd be fun to visit and go see sometime. And I had I have a nice friend in our Wichita Postcard Club. And some years ago, she went back to China. And when she came back to Wichita, I saw her and she says, "Oh, I got you some McDonald's cards from home." And she brought me this one and several others from China. And I was just thrilled. I'm not quite sure. I see a tomato and lettuce. I don't know. It almost looks like fish sticks or something on that one to the right. Something that must be appealing and appetizing and great to be able to buy and eat in China. But it's an interesting postcard and probably from the last 10 years, I would think. And this one is my last card that I'm showing you. And it's really not a postcard, but I'll show you both sides. This is Ronald. This is not a very appetizing picture as they go, but another advertising agency that created this, not for a postcard, but I'll show you. Let's turn it over and look at the other side. Now this one says, "Please be our guest. As your reward for being brave, Dr. H.L. Stewart and McDonald's wants you to have a free hamburger." And you would go to any of these locations in the greater Fort Worth, Arlington area of Texas. Now, Michael Block the other night looked up and found H.L. Stewart. I thought probably this guy was a surgeon or some kind of a doctor that gave shots or something. But it turns out that this is a dentist. And so someone was being brave, maybe adults or maybe kids or what. I would think it might have been for kids, but somebody was brave at the dentist and got this chance to have a McDonald's on the way home or the next time they're out. But that's the last one. As you can see, again, it's not a postcard, but I like it. And I was very pleased to find that with Michael Block's help, H.L. Stewart passed away, deceased in 2016. And Michael even found his obituary. So that's how we know so much about that. Anyway, that's all, folks. And hope you used your ketchup on those French fries, because I know they were good. Michael, I want to turn it over and see if we have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Hal. That was good. Anybody have questions? Please remember to unmute yourself. I've got one thing I noticed in the there were 2 different cars that you showed. That one of them was the second one with the lady in the car. When they show the golden arches, it was actually a different design. It had a line through it, horizontal line.
Oh.
And I haven't seen that anywhere else except on one of your other cars in the middle there. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Had that line through it.
Interesting.
Must have been a different way they did it.
Well, and I was pleased just tonight. I found that one card where the old and the newer remodeled McDonald's had the encased glass area where you could stand and order. That was certainly a transition thing, architecture. And by the way, I don't know if any of you have recently built McDonald's or remodeled McDonald's in your town. We have one about a mile from where we live, and it looks different. There's, other new people are getting into the organization, making decisions, making changes. And so that's all. Alan tells me, being old, he says, I get set in my ways, and I'll have to admit I miss the golden arches, but I have to learn to adjust and adapt to the new ways of the gray box kind of architecture that they have today.
They built some of them primarily designed for their drive-through, because that's so much of the business that they're not necessarily looking to make a welcoming restaurant as one that's going to service cars and deal with the traffic as best they can.
That makes sense. I can see that. Sure.
Oh, and Katie had asked about the lard they used for the French fries. And I can remember once seeing them put these bricks of lard into the fryers to melt. But Julia Child, in that Newsweek or Time magazine article, said that McDonald's French fries were the best French fries she'd ever tasted. And I don't think she would have put ketchup on them. I think she loved the flavor of the flavor of the French fry.
They use sugar, I think, in the fryer.
They might.
All sorts of tricks.
Sugar is a great trick in cooking.
Yeah. Something made us like it.
Well, they make their French fries crispy by spraying stuff on them. And it's a combination of beef fat and wheat, because I can't eat their French fries because it has wheat sprayed on them.
For heaven's sake. That's news to me.
Yeah, they're not gluten-free.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is they remember they had to finally reveal what the special sauce was.
Yeah.
Because when it was required by restaurants to show the ingredients, everyone knew what it was. It was Russian dressing.
Yep.
And that's what it was. It was Russian dressing. I mean, it tasted
Their own
like
special recipe Russian dressing,
But the big thing was they kept it a mystery, because people would go, ooh,
Well, it's like the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices were
Yeah.
secret. And Coca-Cola with their recipe in the bank. It's stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That makes it fun.
You keep it a big secret.
Yeah. But McDonald's cards, it's not everyone that's gonna like them. I realize that, but I do, and it's something to collect that not everyone else is doing, and that's kind of nice not to have that competition. It's like Clarissa with her Girl Scout cards. She goes to a show and she doesn't have that much competition, but maybe somebody's letting go with their collection, and so it reinvigorates the hobby, and more people get chances at some of the other cards that somebody had saved for a long time.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Clarissa.
Go ahead, Dolores, if you want to. I can do it later.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, on the card that had the menu on the back, it was so cool because it said no tipping in that thing at the top, as part of the reason that you should come.
Oh, that's fun.
Go ahead, Clarissa.
When I did Route 66 a few years ago, I went to the site of the first McDonald's, and I have some picture if you want me to share.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So it's on Route 66, is near San Bernardino in California.
Yeah.
And it's
Very cool.
Oh, that is.
And so inside, which I didn't see, it says here that Dick and McDonald's opened the first the McDonald's self-service drive-in restaurant on this side San Bernardino, California, in December 1948. They previously operated a successful drive-in barbecue restaurant with a car hop service on this side from 1940 to 1948.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. Thank you.
And
Golly.
then the original flooring, so to say,
Oh,
this is out of, and then there is a little building, photo of the building as you show us in California,
yeah.
from
yeah.
54 to 61.
They were really making a big deal about the 15 cents, weren't they, on that
Yeah.
street sign?
Yeah,
Wow.
and also here they had the McDonald's 15 cents. That's a mural on the wall outside.
Uh-huh.
And then inside they had, I didn't take a picture, but they had gazillion of showcases for all the paraphernalia, all the toys that they ever was done for McDonald's. Basically a museum
my
about
goodness.
McDonald's.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
So they have the word mural, but this is more for Route 66.
Uh-huh.
So that's
Oh,
the side of the,
well, glad you got to go
Easy.
there and take these pictures.
so if you go to San Bernardino, you can, on Route 66, you can go.
Good
And then
deal.
the second part, I don't have picture, you can look online. They're not my picture. I went to the McDonald's in downtown Rome, near the Spanish Steps. They have Roman statues inside. So I would suggest that you Google the McDonald's in Rome near the Spanish Steps, and they have some pictures online about it. And you will
Great.
see, I went in there, is really is nothing to do with McDonald's. And of course they sell rice salad in McDonald's in Italy, which doesn't exist in the United States. And they have ice cream and other pastry on that McDonald's.
Oh, that's neat. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Has anybody
Cool
else
tourism.
been to a McDonald's in a foreign country outside of US?
Al, do you have the Hawaiian one? There's a Hawaiian McDonald's card. It doesn't have McDonald's on the front, but it's an ad for the first McDonald's in Hawaii on the back.
Really? No, I've
I
never
probably
seen
have a
that.
duplicate. If I do, I'll send it to you.
Oh, great.
It's
Thank
got
you.
it's got a drawing on the front of Madame Pele coming out of the volcano.
Oh, really? Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll look for it.
you. Yeah, thank you.
I went to one in Rio de Janeiro. I was the first time I was there. It was nice to see familiar foods, but then it seems to have closed up.
Oh, that's fun. In Brazil, that's neat.
No, I remember when they were opening them in Paris, there was a lot of resentment, and they felt that this was going to destroy French food. And the tourists were going there. The other Americans would line up. Then eventually, French started to line up too. You know, Parisians. You know, the French always separate their population by the French and the Parisians.
Oh,
You're one or the other.
oh,
And, they would all line up. They all developed a taste for that special sauce.
But you remember what happened when Ukraine war started, that they closed the McDonald's in Moscow,
Mhm.
Oh,
where
that's right.
everybody said, oh my gosh, we don't have, because when it opens, I don't remember what year, they were line and line of people from Moscow that they were trying to eat McDonald's.
I think it opened in 90 or 91, right after the.
Yeah, it's possible. That sounds reasonable. Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you. all
Thanks,
for
Hal.
coming. You
Well,
bet.
thank you very much, Al.
Hal.
So
Was
Thank
great.
you.
That was wonderful, Hal.
It was
Really
fun.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll keep on postcarding.